everybody. Today I'm going to answer officially the question that I get more than anything else, and that is, which is better, the Ingersoll-Rand W7150 or the Milwaukee 2763? Now these two are tied for being the most powerful half-inch cordless impacts on the market today, and they put out up to 1,100 foot-pounds of reverse nut-busting torque. So I have done full reviews on both of these, and those videos have reached tens of thousands of views. Now in those videos I try to do similar testing so you can make your own determination, but what I'm going to do in this video is actually take some clips out of those reviews. We're going to do some comparisons as far as the power levels and speeds of these, and then I'm going to give you my actual opinion as to which one you should go with. Okay, before we get started in at looking at those clips, I want to go over the different features of the different guns. Now you can see on the Ingersoll-Rand, all of this dark gray is a very hard plastic, and then this black portion is a rubber overmold that does go around the whole outside. The directional switch right here above the trigger is very easy to operate, and you can see left and right, and then if it's centered, it's going to be the trigger lock, so nothing's going to turn on. Now the nice thing about the Ingersoll-Rand is that it does have a very effective electric brake on the anvil. So if we just watch it, you can watch how fast it's going to stop as soon as I release my hand. It is almost instant in forward and reverse, where the Milwaukee is slightly different. It actually feels like it has to gear up and then slow back down. So we can look at it. You can see what I'm talking about. It's not instant. As far as use, and when you do have a socket on there, the socket hitting the fastener really does stop it immediately. But if it's just free spinning, it is not nearly as quick of an electric brake as the Ingersoll-Rand. Now, both of these, of course, do have protective boots on them. The Ingersoll-Rand boot, I did clean everything up before I made this video, but this has been covered in grease and oil, and I just took some degreaser and wiped it off with a rag, and it still looks nice and new. Now underneath of here, there may be a little bit of residual dirt, but you can see that it is very clean underneath of there, and let's say I wanted to sell this tomorrow, I could just take the protective boot off there and it would look almost brand new. Now that is very important as far as I'm concerned, because the nose cone on this is actually that aluminum nose cone, and if you don't have a boot on here, it's going to get scratched up and beat up really, really bad. So for the $20 or $25 it costs for the protective boot, it really does a good job at protecting the tool. Now they also have protective boots for the batteries. I do not have one installed on this 5 amp hour battery, but the 3 amp hour battery that comes in the kits, they're the exact same footprint and size. They just have a higher capacity with the 5 amp hour. So you can see side by side the battery packs are going to be completely the same, and the boots do come off of these fairly easy. So I would also suggest you pick up the battery boots, because it's going to save the finish on these and it will prevent you from, let's say, setting it down on a rock and cracking it. Now as far as the Milwaukee goes, we can take a look at it now. It also has a protective boot. Now this one is very easily removed, so you can just pull this off. It's a very soft rubber, where the Ingersoll-Rand boot is a very form-fitted plastic, and you really have to heat it up with a heat gun or in hot water or something like that in order to put it on or remove it. So if you're looking at something that you can remove easily, the Milwaukee boot is much easier to remove. Now the Milwaukee boot also costs about $15 more than the Ingersoll-Rand boot, so you're looking at about 40 bucks for one of these versus 20 or 25 for the Ingersoll-Rand boot. Now you can see that the red portion of the Milwaukee is also a very hard plastic, and then they also have that black rubber overmold grip that's very similar to one of their drill grips. On the bottom of it is where you're going to change the two different modes. So you can see mode 2 is the high torque, and then mode 1 is going to be a very low torque. Now what that's going to do is limit the speed of the motor, and it's also going to limit the torque output. So mode 1 theoretically will put out up to 100 foot-pounds of torque, and I did do a video about that proving that that was accurate if the correct size bolt and thread pitch were being used. But if you're just looking at running down a lug nut and you see that mode 1 will put out up to 100 foot-pounds, it will not with that very small thread pitch. So as far as lug nuts go, you probably are not going to be able to tighten them up any tighter than maybe 40 to 60 foot-pounds using mode 1. Now as far as these side by side go, here's what we'll do. We'll just set them side by side, and you can see if I aim them up at the camera that the angled head on the Ingersoll-Rand does make it slightly taller. Now if we set these upright, let's see, set them upright side by side, you can see that the Ingersoll-Rand is slightly longer. So if we move this forward, You can see the Ingersoll-rand is slightly longer, but the head on this, the angle does allow you to get into some certain situations where the Milwaukee just is not going to fit. Because if you're coming in at something and the head can angle, that means that the battery is going to be pushed back. Where the Milwaukee, if it comes in straight at something, the battery is going to hit what's directly underneath of it. Now, a lot of times that's not a problem, but many of the different mechanics that I talk to really like the fact that the head was angled on the Ingersoll-rand. Now, the last two things I want to point out before we actually get into the testing is the fact that both of the batteries do have onboard fuel gauges. So we can see on the front of the Milwaukee battery, if you press the button, it's going to light up showing you how much charge is left. And also the Ingersoll-rand, if you press the button on the front of that, you're going to see how much charge is left. So both of them are going to tell you accurately how much power you still have in the batteries. And then finally, I want to point out the fact that because the Ingersoll-rand does have a brushed motor, and the Milwaukee has a brushless motor, you're going to see sparks with the Ingersoll-rand coming out of the rear, where you will not see the sparks with the Milwaukee. Now, the Milwaukee is still going to have sparks internally, so you don't want to use either one of these around a combustible material. But what you need to keep in mind is you might think something's wrong with the Ingersoll-rand, but with a brushed motor that is completely normal, and it's just because of the design of it, you're going to see the sparks. So what I'm going to do now is just turn the lights off and really pull the triggers on these, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, first we're going to try the Ingersoll-rand so we can see the sparks coming out of the brushed motor. And now we're going to look at the Milwaukee. Now, you're not going to be able to see any sparks with this, even though there are sparks internally. So there you go. They both do spark, but you will see them with the Ingersoll-rand, and you should not be able to see the sparks with the brushless motor with the Milwaukee. Okay, what I'm going to be removing is the crank bolt on a 1989 Honda Accord with the Milwaukee M18 Fuel 2763-22. And there it is. Okay, this is the crank bolt on a 99 Honda Prelude. I'm going to use the Ingersoll-rand W7150 with a 19mm socket and no extension to see if it will remove this. So I'm going to place it on the crank bolt itself, set it to reverse, and then I'm going to pull the trigger and see if it'll remove it. And as you can see, pops it right out of there. Yep, popped it right off there, no hesitation whatsoever. So right out of the box, the 7150 has a lot of power. Okay, this is a 2001 Honda Civic that I'm going to use the Milwaukee M18 Fuel 2763-22 to remove the crank bolt on. And right there it is. Now I'm going to use the W7150 to take the crank bolt off this 1997 Honda Civic. Okay, here's that crank pulley. It has a 17mm bolt. We're going to use the W7150 to pop that off there. Popped it right out. So now you've seen a lot of different examples as far as the power and speed goes with these, and now I just want to talk a little bit about the feedback I've gotten from my videos since I made them. Now originally I made the Milwaukee video about 9 or 10 months ago, and I made the Ingersoll-Rand video about 6 or 7 months ago. Since then, hundreds of people have bought these. They've left me comments, they've wrote me messages, and out of all the comments and all the messages, for both guns, I have not heard one single complaint. So as far as power goes or people being disappointed, I have not heard anybody say anything bad about either one of these. Now to just point out a couple differences about it, the Milwaukee is going to be a little bit newer technology as far as the motor because it features a brushless motor. Now the Ingersoll-Rand, because it is a couple year older technology, does have a brushed motor. Now since using these and loaning them out to mechanic friends of mine and everything else, we have not seen any deterioration in power with either one. So as far as how long do I think the brush motor is going to last or the brushless, I really can't say. I will say I think they're going to last a very long time, but I have no way of knowing which one of these is physically going to last longer in the real world. Now the other thing to point out, originally the Ingersoll-Rand did come with a 3 amp hour battery, and the Milwaukee came with a 4 amp hour battery. But recently, both of these have released 5 amp hour batteries as a separate purchasable option. So you can buy the batteries separately. And the Milwaukee does have a 5 amp hour battery, as well as the Ingersoll-Rand also has a 5 amp hour battery. So really, as far as the capacity of the batteries go, that's no longer an issue either. Now, even with the 3 amp hour battery on the Ingersoll-Rand, if you're just doing normal mechanic work, let's say you're doing suspension work, maybe removing somebody's tires and doing a brake job, you're not going to run out of one battery pack just in one day. The only way you're going to really go through these battery packs quickly is if you're doing a lot of tire rotations or you work in a tire shop. Now the Milwaukee does have 2 different speed settings. It has mode 1 and mode 2. Mode 1 is really just for running down lug nuts so you don't hurt them, and then mode 2 is going to be full power. Where the Ingersoll-Rand has a variable speed trigger like the Milwaukee, but it doesn't have separate mode settings. Now anybody that's dealing with something this powerful already knows not to just put a lug nut on and hammer on it, but this will really prevent you from accidentally doing that. The other thing about the Milwaukee is it does have an LED light on the front where the Ingersoll-Rand does not. So if you're in a low light situation, let's say you're on the side of the road or maybe you're parting out a car and it's out behind an unlit garage, that might make a difference to you. But as far as my use and the mechanics that I've loaned these out to, it hasn't been an issue one way or another. Now I will say, as far as the different people that have used these and held them, and really I've talked to them about them, we're looking at about a 50-50 split as to who likes which better. Now a lot of seasoned mechanics like the Ingersoll-Rand better because of the feel of the grip and the angle of the head. You can see the head is angled up, where the Milwaukee is going to be heading straight on. So just some people prefer this better, some people prefer the angled head better. It's really just a personal preference. And as far as the power levels go, I think forward and reverse, they are completely the same. Now the last thing I want to talk about is the tool warranty. Milwaukee does have a 5-year tool warranty and then a 3-year warranty on the battery. So if you do have a problem during that time, they will fix that for you. But the Ingersoll-Rand has up to a 3-year warranty. So you're not going to have quite the warranty that you would have out of the Milwaukee, but I don't think they designed these to break on 3 years in one day. So you may have the full tool life for 5 or 10 years and never have a problem with it, but you're not going to have that extended warranty in case something does come up. Now lastly, I just want to talk about the feel of them and the weight and balance. They are both very well balanced and they both weigh almost the same. This weighs a little more than 7 pounds. This weighs just under 7 pounds. So as far as that goes, I really can't notice a difference. I mean, if you're really sensitive to weight, you might be able to, but as far as I can tell, they really feel the same to me. Now, as far as my opinion as to which one you should go with, what I really think that's going to boil down to is which battery lineup you want to invest in. Now, the Milwaukee features the M18 battery line that has a lot of different tools. So if you want a reciprocating saw, if you want drills, if you want impacts, if you want really all kinds of stuff, the M18 lineup is going to give that to you. So if you buy one of the kits and it comes with the batteries, what you're going to get is the option for just buying bare tools in the future. You're not going to have to continue to buy those batteries and chargers, so it will save you a lot of money in the long run if you want other Milwaukee M18 tools. Now that same thing goes with the IQV20 lineup. Because Ingersoll-Rand is really geared solely towards automotive technicians, if you invest in the IQV20 lineup, it's going to give you a lot of automotive specific tools that Milwaukee does not offer. So you really want to look at the other tools in the lineup and make your determination based on that. If you like this video, please click like. If you like my channel, please click subscribe. And thanks for watching. it.